Black woman walked in on her Korean billionaire boyfriend, and he was with someone she trusted. Seoul at night didn't whisper. It shimmered. Lights stretched endlessly across the skyline like stars that had fallen in love with the earth. Cars moved like glowing veins through the city, alive, restless, untouchable. And, high above it all, on the 42nd floor of a glass-walled penthouse, stood Folake Adebayo, barefoot, silent, watching. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass, elegant, composed but distant, like she was still trying to recognize the woman she had become, a girl from Lagos, now living in a world that felt like a movie. She slowly wrapped her arms around herself, exhaling softly. Folake, whispering to herself, "How did I get here?" As if summoned by her thoughts, a warm hand slipped gently around her waist from behind. She didn't flinch. She already knew. Jae-hyun Kang. His presence was unmistakable, calm, controlled, powerful, yet somehow soft only for her. He rested his chin lightly against her shoulder, his voice low and smooth. "Jae-hyun, you're thinking too much again." A small smile touched Folake's lips. "Folake, I'm trying to understand how this is real." He turned her slowly to face him. His eyes held hers, steady, intense, like he was memorizing every detail. "Jae-hyun, softly. You are real. That's enough." For a moment, the world outside disappeared. No city, no distance, no past. Just them. He reached up, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face with a tenderness that felt dangerous. The kind that made you lower your guard without realizing it. "See, Jae-hyun. Do you regret it?" Her brows furrowed slightly. Folake. "Regret what?" Jae-hyun. "Leaving everything behind. Lagos. Your career. Your life." The question lingered in the air longer than expected. Folake stepped away slightly, walking toward the window again. Her gaze dropped to the city below, but her mind drifted somewhere much farther. Back home. To warm afternoons, familiar voices, the chaos that felt like comfort, to the version of herself that didn't have to wonder if she belonged. She swallowed. Folake, quietly. "I thought I would miss it more." A pause, then softer. Folake. "But I don't." Jae-hyun watched her carefully. There was something in his eyes, relief, but also something deeper, something he didn't say. She turned back to him, her expression softening. "Folake, gentle smile, because I have you." And just like that, his walls dropped. He closed the distance between them, pulling her into his arms again, this time tighter, like he was afraid she might disappear. "Jae-hyun," barely above a whisper, "you won't regret choosing me." It sounded like a promise, but something about it felt like a plea. Folake didn't notice. Or maybe she did, and chose to ignore it. Because love, real love, often asks us to believe before we have proof. Later that night, laughter filled the penthouse. Soft music played in the background as Folake danced barefoot across the marble floor, her dress flowing around her like she belonged in this world. Jae-hyun watched her from the couch, a rare smile breaking through his usually composed expression. "Jae-hyun, you're going to break something." Folake laughing. "Then buy another one, Mr. Billionaire." He chuckled, shaking his head, but his eyes never left her. Not for a second. Because in that moment, she was everything light in his carefully controlled life, everything unpredictable, everything real. But even in the middle of joy, there are shadows we don't see. As Folake spun, laughing freely, her phone buzzed softly on the table. She didn't hear it, but Jae-hyun did. His eyes flickered toward it. The screen lit up briefly. A name appeared. Mina. His expression changed, just for a second. Subtle, quick, almost invisible, but real. He looked back at Folake, who was still smiling, still glowing, still completely unaware. And in that moment, something unspoken passed across his face. Not guilt, not yet, but something dangerously close. soft, haunting. Love can feel like a dream when it begins. Beautiful, effortless, safe. But sometimes, the very thing that feels perfect is already beginning to break. Morning in Seoul arrived softly, like a secret. Sunlight slipped through the tall glass windows of the penthouse, painting golden lines across the marble floor. The city below had already begun its usual rush, but up here everything felt calm, untouched, too calm. In the kitchen, Folake Adebayo stood barefoot again, stirring a cup of coffee she wasn't really drinking. Her mind wandered, not in worry but in quiet reflection. She was getting used to this life. That scared her a little, because the more comfortable she became, the more she had to lose. Her phone buzzed gently on the counter. She glanced at it. Emina A's smile instantly warmed her face. Cozy cafe, late morning. The cafe was tucked into a quiet street, the kind of place that felt hidden from the world. Soft jazz played in the background, and the smell of fresh pastries lingered in the air. Folake spotted her immediately. Mina Park sat by the window, already watching her, already smiling. There was something effortlessly comforting about Mina. She had been the first person to truly welcome Folake into Seoul, not because of Jae-hyun, not because of status, but simply because she cared. Or at least, that's what Folake believed. Mina, teasing as Folake approaches. "You're late," Folake, laughing as she sits. "I'm adjusting to billionaire time now. Everything moves slower," Mina smirked. Some Mina. "Or maybe you just don't want to leave that penthouse." Folake rolled her eyes playfully, but her cheeks betrayed her with a soft blush. Folake. "Don't start." They both laughed, and for a moment everything felt easy, natural, safe. A waitress dropped off their drinks. Mina watched Folake closely as she took a sip, studying her, measuring her happiness. "Mina," softly. "You've changed." Folake paused. Folake. "Is that a bad thing?" Mina tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. Mina. "No, just different. A beat." Mina, leaning in. "You're glowing." Folake looked down at her cup, smiling shyly. Folake. "I'm just happy." The word lingered. Heavy. Fragile. Mina's fingers tightened slightly around her own cup, but her smile never faded. "Mina, billionaire love looks good on you." Folake laughed softly. Folake. "It's not about the money." Mina raised an eyebrow. Mina. "Isn't it?" That made Folake pause again, but only for a second, because doubt didn't live in her heart. Not yet. Folake firm, sincere. "It's about how he makes me feel." Mina held her gaze, searching, almost like she was waiting for something more. But Folake just smiled, unaware. A comfortable silence settled between them. But underneath it, something shifted, something subtle, something fragile. Mina looked out the window briefly, her reflection staring back at her. "Mina," quietly. "You trust him that much?" Folake didn't hesitate, not even for a second. Folake. "Yes." Then softer. Folake. "With everything?" Mina's eyes flickered, a crack in her composure. But it disappeared just as quickly as it came. Mina, forcing a light tone. "That's dangerous." Folake frowned slightly. Folake. "Loving someone?" Mina. "No. Trusting someone completely." That hung in the air longer than expected. Folake leaned back in her chair, studying Mina now. Folake. "You don't trust people?" Mina gave a small, almost bitter smile. Mina. "I trust reality." A pause. Then she added, "Mina. And reality is, people disappoint you." For the first time, something unsettled stirred in Falake's chest, but she quickly pushed it away. Because Mina wasn't like that. Mina was safe. Mina was hers. Folake, gently. "You've never disappointed me." Those words hit harder than Folake realized. Mina's expression froze, just for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled again. But this time, it didn't reach her eyes. Mina, softly. "I hope I never do." Later, they walked out of the cafe together, the afternoon sun warming the streets. Folake linked her arm with Mina's, leaning into her slightly. Comfort, trust, belonging. Folake, playful. If anything ever goes wrong with Jae-hyun, I'm moving in with you. Mina let out a small laugh, but her voice came out quieter than expected. Mina. Careful. I might not give him back. Folake laughed, nudging her. Folake. You couldn't handle him? Mina didn't reply, and that silence spoke louder than words. As they parted ways, Mina stood still, watching Folake walk off. Her smile slowly faded. Her eyes darkened with something deeper, something conflicted, something guilty. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down at it. A message. Jae-hyun. Just 2 words. We need to talk. Mina's chest tightened. Her fingers hovered over the screen. Then, slowly, she locked her phone and whispered to herself. Mina, barely audible. It's already too late. Low, haunting. Trust is the most beautiful thing you can give someone, because it comes without proof. But sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones already breaking it, behind our backs. The rain started before she realized it, soft at first, tapping gently against the windows of the taxi as it cut through the evening streets of Seoul. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red, melting into each other like a painting that had lost control. In the back seat, Folake Adebayo held a small box in her lap. Her fingers traced the edges absent-mindedly. Inside it was something simple, a gift. Not expensive, not extravagant, just meaningful. A silver bracelet she had picked out herself, engraved with a quiet message. For the man who made a foreign place feel like home. She smiled faintly to herself. Tonight wasn't special. No anniversary, no celebration. She just wanted to give him something. Because love to her wasn't about occasions. It was about moments, scene shifts, penthouse hallway. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. The hallway was quiet, too quiet. Usually by this time there would be music playing faintly from inside. The low hum of Jae-hyun's presence, his world always in motion even in stillness. But tonight, nothing. Folake stepped out slowly, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Her heart didn't race. Not yet. She reached the door, slipping her keycard in. A soft beep, then click. The door opened. Inside the penthouse. Silence. Dim lights. Shadows stretching across the room. And something else. Something off. Folake, calling gently. Jae-hyun? No answer. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. The rain outside grew louder now, hitting the glass like a warning she didn't understand. She walked further in, slow, uncertain. Her fingers tightened slightly around the small gift box. Folake, a little louder. Jae-hyun? I came early. She stopped. Mid-step, mid-breath, mid-everything, because she saw them, across the room, by the edge of the living area. Too close, too familiar, too intimate. Jae-hyun and Mina. Time didn't slow down. It shattered. Her mind refused to process what her eyes were seeing, because it didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense. Mina stood close to him, closer than any friend should ever stand. Her hand, still lightly resting against his chest, like it had been there before Folake walked in. And Jae-hyun. He wasn't pulling away. He was just frozen, like a man caught between guilt and truth. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Folake's voice came out barely above a whisper. Folake. Mina. Both of them turned, too quickly, too sharply. Guilt has a sound, and she heard it in that movement. Mina stepped back immediately, like the distance could erase what had already happened. Mina panicked. Folake, sharply. Don't! The word cut through the room like glass. Mina froze. Jae-hyun finally moved forward, but slowly, cautiously, like approaching something fragile. Like approaching her. Jae-hyun. It's not what you think. And that broke something deeper than what she saw. because it was exactly what people say when it is what you think. Folake let out a soft laugh, but there was no humour in it, only pain, sharp, raw, unfiltered. Folake, then tell me. Her eyes locked onto his, unblinking, demanding. Folake, voice trembling but firm. Tell me what I'm supposed to think, seeing my boyfriend standing with the only person I trusted here, like this. Silence. Heavy, unforgiving. Jae-hyun opened his mouth, but no words came out, because there was no version of this that sounded better when spoken aloud. Folake's gaze slowly shifted to Mina, and that hurt more, so much more. Because this wasn't just betrayal, this was personal. Folake, soft, broken. You... Mina's eyes filled with tears instantly, but Folake didn't care. Not anymore. Folake, you sat with me. You laughed with me. You told me to be careful while you were already... Her voice cracked. She couldn't finish it, because saying it out loud would make it real. And she wasn't ready for that. Mina took a step forward, desperation in her voice. Mina, it didn't start like this, I swear. Folake, raising her voice. Then when did it start? The room fell into silence again, and that silence was the answer. Folake nodded slowly, like something inside her had just clicked. Something painful, something final. Folake quietly. So it's been happening. Not a question. A realization. Jae-hyun stepped closer. Jae-hyun. Folake, listen to me. Folake, stepping back. Don't come near me. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight, authority, finality. And that's when he stopped. Because for the first time, he realized he had lost her. Her hand slowly loosened. The small gift box slipped from her fingers, falling, hitting the marble floor with a soft, hollow sound. The lid opened, the bracelet slid out, spinning once, then still, unnoticed, unwanted. Folake looked at it for a second, then back at them. Her eyes were filled with tears now, but they didn't fall. She refused to let them fall here, not in front of them. Folake, cold, controlled. You didn't just betray me. A pause. Her voice dropped even lower. Folake, you humiliated me. No one moved, no one spoke, because there was nothing left to say. Folake turned, slowly, carefully, like if she moved too fast, she might break completely. She walked toward the door, each step heavier than the last, but she didn't stop, she didn't look back, because some things, once seen, can never be unseen. As the door closed behind her, the sound echoed, loud, final, irreversible. Inside the penthouse, silence swallowed everything. Jae-hyun stood frozen. Mina collapsed onto the couch, her hands shaking, and on the floor. That small silver bracelet lay untouched, a symbol of love. That arrived too late. Narration, low, haunting. Sometimes. It only takes one moment to destroy everything. One glance, one truth, one betrayal. And the worst part isn't losing them. It's realizing you never really had them the way you thought you did. The city didn't stop. Seoul still moved, fast, bright, alive, like nothing had happened. But for Folake Adebayo, everything had. Rainy street, night. The moment she stepped out of the building, the rain hit her fully, cold, unforgiving, soaking through her clothes, her hair, her skin. But she didn't run. She didn't cover herself. She just walked, each step heavier than the last. Her vision blurred, not just from the rain, but from the tears she refused to acknowledge, because if she stopped, if she allowed herself to feel it fully, she might not recover. Cars passed, people rushed by under umbrellas. No one noticed her. And somehow, that made it worse. Folake whispering to herself, just keep walking. Her voice trembled, not from weakness, but from everything she was holding in. Scene shifts, hotel room. The door shut behind her with a dull click. Silence. No city noise, no voices, no hymn, just emptiness. Folake stood there for a moment, dripping rainwater onto the polished floor. Still. Frozen. Like her body hadn't caught up with what just happened. Then, slowly, she dropped her bag. It hit the floor, loud in the quiet room. And that sound, that small, insignificant sound, broke her. She sank to the ground, her back against the wall, her hands covering her face. And finally, the tears came. Not soft tears, not quiet ones, but deep, painful sobs that came from somewhere buried far inside her. The kind that shook her entire body, the kind that made breathing feel like work. Folake, crying broken. I trusted you. Her voice cracked under the weight of it. Not just him, but Mina. That part hurt differently, deeper, because love can hurt you. But friendship? Friendship is supposed to protect you, her phone buzzed. Once, twice, again. She didn't look at it at first, but it kept going, relentless, demanding. Finally, with trembling hands, she reached for it. The screen lit up. Jae-hyun calling. Again, and again, and again. She stared at his name. Her thumb hovered over the screen. So many emotions crashed into her at once. Anger, pain, confusion, love. And that was the worst part. She still loved him. Even now, even after seeing it with her own eyes. Her hand shook, then slowly, she declined the call. A message came in almost instantly. Jae-hyun. Please talk to me. Another. It's not what it looked like. Another. I'm sorry. Folake let out a hollow laugh. Tears still streaming down her face. Folake, bitterly. Sorry. The word felt meaningless now. Empty, like everything else. Another notification. This time, Mina. Folake froze. Her chest tightened. She didn't want to open it, didn't want to hear whatever excuse was waiting for her, but something in her needed to know. She tapped it. Mina. I'm sorry, Folake. I never meant to hurt you. Folake stared at the message for a long time. Her expression slowly changed. From pain to something colder. Folake. Quiet. Trembling. You never meant to hurt me. She let out a small, disbelieving laugh. Folake. Then what did you think would happen? Her voice rose slightly, not in anger, but in disbelief. Folake. You don't accidentally betray someone. Her grip tightened around the phone. Her tears slowed. Not because the pain was gone, but because something else was replacing it. Clarity. She stood up slowly, walking toward the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, eyes red, face tired, heart broken, but still standing, still breathing. She stepped closer, studying herself, like she was seeing the truth for the first time. Folake, soft, but firm. I left everything. For this? Her voice echoed in the quiet room. Flashbacks hit her all at once. Jae-hyun's smile, his promises, Mina's laughter, their conversations, the trust, the comfort, the illusion. She closed her eyes tightly, letting the last of her tears fall. Then she opened them again. Different this time. Stronger. Betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It forces you to see clearly, to see people for who they truly are, and sometimes to see yourself. Folake wiped her face slowly, took a deep breath, and placed her phone down. It buzzed again. She ignored it. She walked to the window, looked out at the city one more time, but this time, she didn't feel small in it. She didn't feel lost. She felt something else, something quiet, but powerful. Folake, softly, to herself. I'll be okay. A pause. Then firmer. Folake. I have to be. Behind her, her phone kept lighting up. Calls, messages, regret. Too late. But Folake didn't turn back. Because the moment she walked out of that penthouse, she didn't just leave them. She started finding herself again. Pain changes you, but it doesn't have to destroy you. Sometimes, it's the beginning of becoming someone stronger than you ever were before. The penthouse felt different now. Empty. Not physically. Everything was still in place. The glass walls, the expensive art, the quiet hum of wealth. But something essential was gone. Her penthouse, late night. The rain hadn't stopped. It traced slow paths down the glass windows, blurring the city outside into something unrecognizable. Inside, Jae-hyun Kang stood alone, still in the same spot, as if moving would make everything real. His eyes drifted downward, to the floor, to the bracelet. He walked toward it slowly, each step heavy, measured, uncertain. Then he bent down, picking it up with careful fingers, like it might break if he touched it wrong. He stared at it. The engraving caught the light. For the man who made a foreign place feel like home. His jaw tightened. A sharp breath escaped him. Jae-hyun, whispering. What have I done? The weight of it hit him then. Not just the betrayal, but what he had destroyed. Something real. Something rare. Something he wasn't sure he deserved in the first place. Private office later that night. The room was dim. Only a desk lamp illuminated the space, casting long shadows across the walls. Jae-hyun sat behind his desk, the bracelet now resting in front of him. Untouched, like a reminder he couldn't escape. The door opened without a knock. His best friend Min Seok stepped in. Calm, observant, already knowing something was wrong. Min Seok, she's gone. Not a question, a statement. Jae-hyun didn't respond immediately. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. Exhaustion clung to him. But it wasn't physical. It was emotional. Jae-hyun, low. I know. Min Seok stepped further into the room, his eyes landing on the bracelet. He understood instantly. Min Seok, you finally had something real. And you ruined it. No sugarcoating, no comfort, just truth. Jae-hyun let out a dry, humorless laugh. Jae-hyun, trust you to say it like that? Min Seok. Someone has to. A pause. Then, Min Seok, firm. Why? That question lingered. Heavy, unavoidable. Jae-hyun stared at the bracelet again, his reflection faintly visible in the polished surface of the desk. But he didn't recognize the man looking back. Jae-hyun, quietly. I didn't plan it. Min Seok. That's not an answer. Silence stretched between them. Then finally, Jae-hyun spoke. Not like a billionaire. Not like a man in control, but like someone unraveling. Jae-hyun. She was different. Min Seok raised an eyebrow slightly. Min Seok. Folake? Jae-hyun nodded. Jae-hyun. She didn't care about who I was. What I had. What I could give her. His voice softened, almost distant, like he was remembering something he could no longer touch. Jae-hyun. She looked at me like I was just a man. A pause. Then, Jae-hyun, bitterly, and I didn't know what to do with that. Min Seok leaned against the desk, arms crossed, watching him carefully. Min Seok, so you cheated on her. Blunt, sharp, unforgiving. Jae-hyun shook his head quickly. Jae-hyun. It wasn't like that at first. Flashback. Mina sitting in the same penthouse, laughing, talking, comfortable, too comfortable. Jae-hyun. Voiceover. Mina was easy. The flashback shows casual conversations, lingering glances, moments that meant nothing, until they did. Jae-hyun, V.O. She understood this world. So there were no expectations, no pressure to be something better. Back to present. Jae-hyun. With Folake, it was different. He swallowed hard. Jae-hyun. She made me want to be better. A beat. Then quieter. Jae-hyun. And that terrified me. Min Seok's expression didn't soften. Min Seok. So instead of rising to meet her, you lowered yourself to something easier. That hit. Hard. Jae-hyun didn't argue, because it was true. Jae-hyun, barely above a whisper. I kept thinking. He paused, struggling to say it out loud. Jae-hyun. That someone like her wouldn't stay. Silence. Jae-hyun, finally admitting it. So I ruined it first. The room felt heavier after that, like the truth itself had weight. Min Seok exhaled slowly, shaking his head. Min Seok, you didn't just ruin it. A pause. Then firmly, Min Seok, you proved you weren't worthy of it. Jae-hyun flinched slightly, not visibly, but internally. His gaze dropped again. To the bracelet. Jae-hyun, do you think she'll forgive me? Min Seok didn't hesitate. Min Seok, no. Silence. Then softer. Min Seok, and even if she does, a beat. Min Seok, she'll never see you the same way again. That was worse, much worse, because Jae-hyun didn't just lose her. He lost the version of himself she believed in. Alone again. Min Seok had left. The room was quiet once more. Jae-hyun picked up the bracelet again, holding it tighter this time, like he was trying to hold on to something already gone. Jae-hyun, soft, broken. I wasn't afraid of losing her. A pause. Jae-hyun, I was afraid of needing her. And now, he had both. Some people don't destroy love because they don't feel it. They destroy it because they feel it too deeply and don't know how to handle something real. Jae-hyun closed his eyes briefly, regret settling into him like something permanent. But regret doesn't fix anything. And somewhere in the city, Folake Adebayo was learning how to live without him. By the time you realize what you've lost, it's usually already gone. Time didn't heal her. It refined her. Scene. Lagos. Early morning. The city breathed differently. Warm, alive, familiar. The kind of chaos that didn't overwhelm, but grounded you. Car horns echoed faintly in the distance. Street vendors called out. The sun rose slowly over the skyline, casting gold across buildings that carried stories of resilience. Armand, in the middle of it all, Folake Adebayo had found her rhythm again. Modern office building. Victoria Island. Glass doors slid open. Heels clicked confidently against polished floors. Heads turned, not because she demanded attention, but because she carried it effortlessly. Folake walked in, dressed in a tailored suit that fit her like power itself. Her hair was neatly styled, her expression calm, her presence undeniable. This was not the same woman who had walked out into the rain months ago. This version of her was sharper, stronger, unbreakable. Assistant, approaching quickly. Good morning, Ma. The investors are already in the conference room. Folake nodded slightly. Folake, let's not keep them waiting. At the conference room, men twice her age sat around the table, experienced, skeptical, used to being in control. Folake stepped in, calm, composed, prepared. She didn't rush to speak. She didn't need to, because confidence doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. She placed her file on the table, meeting each of their eyes, one after the other, unshaken. Folake, clear, steady. Gentlemen, let's begin. The presentation wasn't just good, it was brilliant. Sharp insights, bold strategy, controlled delivery, every word intentional, every move calculated. And by the time she finished, the room was silent, not with doubt, but with respect. One of the investors leaned forward slightly. Investor, Ms. Adebayo, this is impressive. A small pause. Then, investor, we'd like to move forward. Folake allowed herself a small, controlled smile. Not excitement, not surprise, just quiet acknowledgement. Folake, good. I was expecting that. Office hallway moments later. Her assistant rushed up to her again, slightly hesitant this time. Assistant, Ma, there's someone here to see you. Folake didn't slow down. Folake, do they have an appointment? Assistant, no, but he insisted. A pause. Assistant, lowering voice. He said you'd want to see him. That made her stop, just for a second. Folake, name. The assistant hesitated. Then, assistant, Jae-hyun Kang. Silence. Not the kind that breaks you, the kind that tests you. For a brief moment the past brushed against her. A memory, a feeling, a version of herself that once would have run. But that version of her didn't exist anymore. Folake, calm. Where is he? Waiting area. Jae-hyun stood near the window. But he didn't look like the man who once owned every room he walked into. He looked tired. Not physically, but emotionally. Like the weight of his choices had finally caught up with him. When he heard her footsteps, he turned, and for a moment, he forgot how to breathe, because the woman walking toward him was not the woman he remembered. She was stronger, colder, untouchable. Folake Adebayo had evolved. She stopped a few feet away from him, maintaining distance, maintaining control. Jae-hyun, softly. Folake. Her expression didn't change. Folake, you don't get to say my name like that anymore. The words were calm, but they landed hard. Jae-hyun swallowed, his hands clenched slightly at his sides. Jae-hyun, I came to see you, Folake. I can see that. A pause. Then, Folake coolly, you should have made an appointment. That stung, because it wasn't anger, it was distance. And distance is harder to fix than anger. Jae-hyun, I didn't think you'd agree to one. Folake tilted her head slightly. Folake, you're right. Silence stretched between them. But this time, she wasn't the one uncomfortable in it. He took a step closer, careful, cautious. Jae-hyun, I came to fix what I broke. Folake let out a small breath. Not emotional, just measured. Then she stepped forward too, closing the gap slightly, but not enough to let him back in. Folake, you didn't just break us. A pause. Her eyes locked onto his, steady, unforgiving. Folake, you broke access to me. That hit deeper than anything else, because she wasn't saying she was hurt. She was saying he no longer had the right to reach her. Jae-hyun's voice softened, almost desperate now. Jae-hyun, I made a mistake. Folake shook her head slowly. Folake, no. A beat. Folake, firm. You made a choice. Silence, because there's no defense against truth. He looked at her, really looked at her, as if searching for something familiar, something he could still hold on to. But all he found was someone who had already let him go. Jae-hyun, quietly, you've changed. For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips, not soft, not warm, but proud. Folake, I had to. She stepped back, creating distance again. Folake, now, if that's all. Her tone shifted, professional, detached, done. Folake, I have work to do. And just like that, the conversation was over. She turned, walked away, and didn't look back. And this time, he didn't follow, because he finally understood something. She wasn't the woman he lost. She was someone he could never reach again. Narration, strong, rising. Some people think strength is moving on quickly, but real strength is rebuilding yourself so completely that the person who broke you no longer recognizes who you've become. Jae-hyun stood there alone, watching her disappear down the hallway. And for the first time, he didn't just feel regret, he felt loss, real loss, because Folake Adebayo didn't just leave him behind. She outgrew him. The sky over Lagos burned gold. Sunset didn't rush here, it lingered, like it understood that some endings deserved time, space, silence. At the rooftop terrace, evening. The city stretched endlessly below, glowing under the fading sun. Traffic hummed in the distance, softened by height. The breeze moved gently, carrying warmth instead of cold. And standing at the edge, Folake Adebayo, still, calm, at peace. She rested her hands lightly on the railing, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The same horizon she once left behind, chasing love in a foreign land. Now she was back, not the same, never the same. Footsteps approached behind her, slow, careful, almost hesitant. She didn't turn, she already knew. Jae-hyun, softly. Folake. His voice carried something it never had before. Not confidence, not control, but vulnerability. She closed her eyes briefly. Not in pain, not in longing, but in acknowledgement. Then she opened them again and spoke without turning. Folake, you shouldn't be here. Silence followed. Heavy. Jae-hyun. I know. A pause. A Jae-hyun, quietly. But I needed to see you. One last time. That made her turn, slowly, gracefully. Their eyes met, and for a moment time didn't rewind, but it remembered. Everything they once were flickered between them. The laughter, the late nights, the promises, the love. But it didn't stay, because reality was stronger than memory. Jae-hyun took a step closer, stopping at a distance that felt respectful, like he finally understood boundaries. Jae-hyun. I've replayed that night 1,000 times. His voice trembled slightly. Jae-hyun. Trying to find a way to change it, to undo it. A bitter smile touched his lips. Jae-hyun. But I can't. Folake watched him quietly. No anger, no softness, just clarity. Jae-hyun, looking at her. I loved you. A pause. And then softer. Jae-hyun. I still do. The words hung in the air, heavy, honest, too late. Folake exhaled slowly. Her gaze drifted back to the horizon. Folake. Love shouldn't feel like betrayal. Simple, but final. Jae-hyun stepped closer again, just slightly. Jae-hyun. I know I don't deserve another chance. A pause. Jae-hyun. But if there's even a part of you that's still... Folake cutting him off gently. There isn't. Silence, not harsh, not cruel, just true. That was the moment it fully sank in, not when she walked away, not when she ignored his calls. But now, because this version of her was unreachable. He nodded slowly, accepting it, even if it broke him. Jae-hyun, quietly. Did you ever love me? Folake turned back to him, and for the first time, there was softness in her eyes. But it wasn't for him, it was for the memory. Folake. I did. A small pause. Folake gently. And that's why it hurt the way it did. His chest tightened. Folake. You didn't just break my heart. Her voice lowered slightly. Folake. You broke the version of me that believed in you. That hit deeper than anything else, because hearts heal. But belief? That's harder to rebuild. A quiet breeze passed between them, carrying the weight of everything unsaid. Folake stepped closer, not emotionally, but physically, just enough to stand in front of him fully. Folake, I forgive you. Jae-hyun's eyes widened slightly. Hope flickered. Then she finished. Folake, calm, steady. But I don't want you anymore. And just like that, the hope died. Because forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't let them fall. He had lost the right to break in front of her. Jae-hyun, barely a whisper. I understand. And for the first time, he meant it. Folake gave a small nod. Respectful. Final. Then she stepped back, creating distance one last time. Folake, soft but powerful. I chose myself. No anger, no bitterness, no regret, just truth. She turned and began to walk away. This time, her steps were light, certain, free. Jae-hyun didn't move, didn't call her name, didn't try to stop her, because he finally understood. Love doesn't give you endless chances, and some people, once lost, are gone forever. Folake reached the door, paused for just a second, not to look back, but to breathe. Then she walked through it and disappeared from his world. At the rooftop, alone. The sun dipped below the horizon. Darkness slowly replaced light. Jae-hyun stood there, staring at the empty space she left behind. And for the first time in his life, he had everything. But nothing that mattered. In the end, this wasn't a story about heartbreak. It was a story about strength, about a woman who lost love but found herself. Because the greatest love story isn't always about who you end up with. Sometimes, it's about choosing yourself.